All right, everyone. I am Marissa King. I am the events coordinator for AAUW of Oregon, and I will now introduce you to our president, Catherine Lutz. Madam President, you have the floor.
All right. The annual meeting of the American Association of University Women of Oregon is now in session. This is our 101st meeting and the second time I get to use my gavel. Boom. Okay. So before I go into our mission and diversity statements, before we go into approving our minutes, I have a couple things I want to say. Now, those of you who heard me yesterday, this is the same thing, but bear with me because I got to share this with everybody. Okay, so welcome to everybody who's here. I need to tell you a story about a few months ago. So a few months ago, a community college student here in Oregon testified at a local hearing, speaking about her having worked at two jobs, choosing between textbooks and rent, about being the first in her family to pursue a degree, and about nearly walking away because the math didn't work. And we're not talking about the math in her classes, we're talking about the math in her life. She stood there, voice steady but urgent, and said, I am doing everything I was told would lead to opportunity. Why is it not enough? So that question has to stay with us because it's not just her question, it's Oregon's question. And it's our responsibility to answer it. So we gather here for our 101st annual meeting, not just to celebrate our history, but to confront this moment in our state. Oregon prides itself on valuing education, fairness, and opportunity. And, we all know that the reality is much more complicated than that. Women in Oregon still face persistent wage gaps. Student debt continues to shape and limit life choices. Access to higher education remains uneven, especially for rural communities and women of color and those balancing work and caregiving and school. Can you imagine? Childcare shortages hold back careers. Too many policy decisions are still made without fully accounting for their impact on women and girls. At the same time, we're seeing growing pressure on the very systems meant to expand opportunity, public education, equitable funding, and inclusive policies. Let me be very clear, equity does not advance on its own. It advances or retreats based on policy choices. It lives in Oregon's budget priorities. It lives in how we fund our schools and colleges. It lives in whether pay equity laws are enforced and strengthened. It lives in whether we expand access to affordable childcare and protect pathways to higher education. And right now, these decisions are being made with or without us. So the question is not whether AAUW of Oregon has a role to play. The question is whether we will meet this moment with the urgency and focus it demands, because we can't afford to be passive. We must be present in the rooms where these decisions are made, from school boards in our smallest towns in Oregon to committees in Salem. We must track legislation, testify, write, organize, and vote with intention. We must hold leaders accountable, not just for what they promise, but for what they deliver. And we must be strategic because the challenges we face are coordinated and persistent. So we must be more so. We build coalitions across communities. We support policies that expand access to education and economic security. We invest in the next generation of women leaders across Oregon. So they're not just navigating systems, they're reshaping them. And we must be unapologetic about demanding equal pay in every corner of this state, unapologetic about insisting that education be accessible and affordable, unapologetic about calling out inequity, whether it shows up in a paycheck or a classroom or a policy. So for 101 years, AAUW has not waited for change. We've made it step by step, law by law, opportunity by opportunity. Now it's our turn to decide what the next chapter in Oregon will look like. Will that student that I talked about earlier, or thousands like her, will they find that the math finally works? That effort does lead to opportunity? That Oregon delivers on its promise? Here I go. That answer depends on what we do next. So let this meeting be more than a gathering. Let it be a starting line, a place where we commit to action, clear and focused and sustained, a place where we leave not just inspired, but organized, and a place where we decide that the next year will move policy and shift systems and expand opportunity for every woman and girl in Oregon. The stakes are real. The moment is now. Let's get to work. So I also have one more thing before I officially go into, mission and diversity statements. I need to tell you that we lost a state president recently. Judy Irvin was a longtime member of the Gresham area branch of AAUW of Oregon, and she joined in 1970. She was born in 1935 and died in 2025 at 90 years of age. Wow. She was also a very active Oregon Board of Directors, serving as state president from 93 to 96 and as its parliamentarian several times, which reminds me we still need a parliamentarian, just FYI. So Judy retired from the Clackamas College Board of Education in 2004. She lived in the city of Gladstone. Let's see, she served on the Oregon Community College Association and the Gladstone Library Board. She had a cabin that she loved on the Metolius River and loved hiking, and received the National Forest Homeowners Leadership Award in 2000. That's pretty exciting. She has traveled extensively and enjoyed introducing her grandchildren to other countries and cultures. So this was written by Mary Meyer, and this is such a lovely thing that she just said. She said, if you were ever blessed by one of Judy's winning smiles or grasped her warm handshake, you sense the spirit of this matriarch of the Irvin clan and her power to draw family close and to foster connections with the myriad friends that she made on her far-flung travels and activities. She will be missed by all who had the privilege of knowing her. So rest in peace, Judy Irvin, and thank you for all you've done for AAUW of Oregon. Okay, now let me read our mission and vision statements. AAUW promotes advocacy, takes action to empower women and girls, and connects national AAUW to branch members. And our vision is that we empower all women and girls to reach their highest potential. We have a value promise so that by joining AAUW, you belong to a community that breaks through education and economic barriers so that all women and girls have a fair chance. In our diversity statement, in principle and in practice, AAUW values and seeks an inclusive organization, leadership team, and board of directors, where all people are seen and heard and respected. We welcome diversity, and we strive to build a caring, equitable community. And again, thank you all for being here. All right, so I need to introduce our board. And Marissa has a screen, okay. I'm gonna, before that, Marissa, I'm just gonna introduce our board. And if you're on the board, guys, you can just go ahead and put your regular hand up or your other hand up, because I just want to introduce, Wendy, who is our finance president. You'll hear from Wendy. I want to introduce Claudia Carmichael, our hardworking, well, everybody's hardworking, what am I saying? Hardworking program chair. I want to introduce Susan Hornung, our membership vice president. And I want to introduce Randa Blanding, our communications VP. I also want to introduce, okay, well, you met Marissa. She's our very hardworking special events coordinator. I want to introduce our district directors. So board members, you can keep your hands up, but district directors, I want you to add to this. So Monica Wahe from the South District, there's Monica. Karen Beck from Northwest District. Karen's here, I know, I saw her earlier. Joyce Zook is here from the Central District. Marty Maharg from North Central. And Kate Mace and Regina Bracker from Northeast District. Okay. Okay, but in addition, we have two members, and I'm not sure that they're here because I haven't seen them, but I do want to mention this. Betsy McDowell from the Salem branch is on the National Advancement Committee, which is pretty exciting. And Claudia Gray from Hillsborough Forest Grove is a member of the National Legacy Circle team. It serves also on the National Advance Committee. So Thank you all for all the hard work you do for us. Let's see, what else do I have before? Okay, I got some state committee chairs. Hold on, Marissa, you can go ahead and put that screen up, but I've got a few more state committee chairs. So Sheila Remmerman is our new AAUW Funds Chair. Sheila, give us a hand. Mary Pat Silvera for just a few more months, weeks, is our Governance Committee Chair. Linda Liebecker is our Technology Committee Chair. And Sharon Noon and Diana Ricks, whom you will hear from later, are our Public Policy Co-Chairs. Okay. We do not have a Breaking Barriers Award facilitator, so that's another thing we're looking for. Just put this in the mix. All right. And the meeting has been called to order. Let me see. Okay. The purpose of our annual meeting is to conduct business of the state, including election of officers and receiving reports from officers and committee chairs. I also want to, so you're going to see the annual business meeting minutes. Actually, you're not, but you can see them possibly. Randa, are they in the chat, the minutes? No. Anyway, the minutes have been approved.
They're not.
Okay, all right, that's fine. The minutes have been approved by the group that read them last year. And I have those somewhere here. Oh, yeah. I have Claudia Carmichael, Sherry Schroeder, and Janet Boyd Todd approved these minutes. They got them. We've all checked them. That's the gang. And we have new committee to read minutes for this meeting, but that will happen next year. So thank you to Claudia, Sherry, and Janet. I need us to approve these minutes. So since they've been approved by the committee, I think we can approve them by acclamation. All right, consider that done. Okay, annual reports. Now those, yes, I can get an address to you for Dirty Irvin's family. I don't have that yet, but I will get an address. That was in chat. So thank you for reminding me. Annual reports. Apparently there are a couple of pieces of misinformation in this report. You can see it in the chat. However, there are a couple of pieces of misinformation, so we will get the absolutely new and corrected annual report out to you. But if you want to look at officers' reports, committees, and branches, you can look at that now. All right, next. I want to introduce Wendy Cook, our hardworking, just amazing. She's technologically amazing and she's financially amazing. Wow, Wendy. Go ahead. I know you've been just awesome. Go ahead and talk to us about our finances this year.
Yeah, let's start with my favorite subject, which is money.
Yeah.
All right, so you can see the numbers here, so I'm not going to torture you by just reading them. So in summary, we budgeted for the year about to end, FY 25-26, we had budgeted for spending up to $24,000. We ended up spending, well, it looks like by the time we hit June 30th, we will have spent about $16,500. So we're under budget, which I think is a good thing. We didn't spend needlessly, but we did spend thoughtfully and mindfully. And by the time the fiscal year ends, that should leave us with about $53,000 in our coffers, in our accounts for future spending. We are expected, or by fiscal year end, we're also expected to have received about $12,500 in income. That's from June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Mostly that income came from dues and plus some interest we earned on our interest-bearing accounts. This is a little lower than we had projected this time last year, but it should still be a good base from which to continue our efforts. Plus, next year we are likely to bring in, cautiously estimating maybe $10,000 or $11,000 from dues and interest next year. So how did we spend our money in this past fiscal year? So I'm going to just summarize real quickly. I won't throw a bunch of dollars at you because I don't know about you, but dollars tend to just kind of go in and out of my head. But we did send 3 students to Nick Whistle using AAUW of Oregon money. And then we also sent in, or are going to be sending an additional, let's see, it's going to be 7 students total. So additional 4 students that are funded by 4 different, well, 3 different branches. Salem, Gresham, and AAUW Oregon Online are sending Nick Whistle students. So we spent money on that. We spent money on out of our district director budget a little bit. For example, Peggy Shippen's volunteer first presentation, we spent a little for her to present that to the Northeast District. We spent $450 out of our branch grant program to my own branch, Eugene Lane, to do some banner signage work. I really hope that we do expect to probably offer another grant next year, up to $500 for branches. It's free money. So talk to your fellow branch members among yourselves and come up with an idea of how you might spend $500 if you received it, and go ahead and apply for that for next year, because it's a good deal. I can speak from experience. We also used our funds budget a little bit so that Sheila, our new funds coordinator, could collaborate with all of you branches on your named honoree awards. We spent a good amount on our technology in 2 different ways. We funded the Allen Hall Public Relations Project for the 2nd year in a row. And they're about to be submitting a report to the board on how that effort went for this year. And I imagine we'll be sharing that with you once we see that report. And then the rest, a good amount of the tech budget also went to various things such as the Zoom session you're on right now for this annual meeting. We're reorganizing our central library of board materials, and we host YouTube video channel and various other technology related expenses. There's a board retreat budget that we tapped or are tapping for our board retreat this spring, and that'll help us set the stage for next year's activities so that we can keep going. And we also put in a deposit for our 2027 annual conference to be held in Salem that I hope you guys are already marked on your calendar. And last but not least, we renewed our liability insurance so that we don't get in trouble. Yay. So that's kind of how we spent our money and what we earned. And that's it, unless there are questions or whatever.
I'm gonna call for questions, but first I want to say, Wendy, really glad you put in a plug for that grant, because as you say, it is free money, and I would love to see more branches take advantage of that. So $500 next year. Think about it.
And I also want to add, I do want to applaud Monica Wahey, my predecessor, who was, I couldn't have done this without her help in terms of transitioning us. So, yay, Monica.
Thank you, Monica. Yay. So do we have any questions for Wendy, our finance VP? Okay, anybody see questions that I might be missing? I'm just going to go through the whole list. I don't see any hands up. I see Joyce with the thumbs up. Great. Regina clapping. Thank you. All right, Peggy. Good. All right. All right. You can see we're in good shape. Okay, so after that, thank you, Wendy. So after that, I want to introduce you to 2 hard-working ladies. Wait till you hear this news. It's very exciting. So Sharon Noon from Gresham and Diana Ricks from Lake Oswego are our co-chairs. And I'll read this and you can read it with me. Every 2 years, members review and adopt program priorities developed by the State Public Policy Committee. Our board has approved these, and now they will come to you for the biennial action priorities. You will see what those are. The goals in chat, or are they coming up on another page? I forgot. Okay, so now you have Sharon and Diana are going to talk about these. their goals, and then I'm going to ask you guys to vote. Hold on one second. Oh my gosh, I've left out a really, really important part of this. Before we vote, I've got to determine that we have a quorum. So hold that thought. All right. Madam Membership Vice President Susan, I need to know how many branches are represented today and how many of our members are represented here.
Madam President, there are 74 participants in the room right now.
Okay. Well, that does mean we have a quorum, so I will go ahead, and when Susan can determine officially, I would just like to know how many branches.
Yes, we have a quorum and we have 19 out of 21 branches.
Great. And how many members do we have in our fair state today?
A total of 887.
Okay. All right. So we have a quorum. All right. We can get ready to vote. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Membership Vice President. All right. Sharon and Diana, go ahead.
All right. I'm Sharon Noon, and I'm one half of the chairperson position. This is the opening slide, and it's mostly only important because if you can see it, there is my email address on it, smnrrooe@aol.com, in case you have a question or suggestion afterward. When Diana Ricks last night talked about celebrating the 5 bills that we had supported and that are going into law in 2026, she mentioned that we were going from having been kind of a star public policy committee to being a team public policy committee, and this year continues that transition. For that reason, because in 2027 we'll have a long session, we will do a state survey of all 887 members, and we will try to get the beginning of a sense of what are important Oregon specifics about our concerns. But for this year, we chose to have categories because literally almost anything could come up as a topic, and our categories are broad enough to allow that. So for education, you see that ensuring safe and inclusive environments for all students, as well as closing the gender gap in STEAM education and enforcing Title VII, and you can read that. At the board meeting on Thursday, Betsy McDowell requested to make a friendly amendment, and that was allowed and voted in, and it is in bold here, supporting communities, school boards, and state legislation to improve reading and math metrics, graduation rates, attendance, and repealing testing opt-outs. But we also understand that education is very, very broad. From the 21,000 homeless students that we advocated for a bill this year so that school districts must let them in, to a few years ago when Senator Mike Dembro put together a coalition that funded for funding the Coffee Creek Women's Prison Education Program, to this year, or to last year when we talked about childcare training at the community colleges. Education is a huge category, and we wanted to be able to use any kind of education as part of our priorities. We also wanted to look at economic security. This last year, we did that with childcare subsidies. One of the bills that we advocated for provided childcare subsidies. Obviously, equal pay is part of that. Obviously, Medicare is part of that. Those are pretty typical. We also supported a bill this last session on health and well-being. It was a very controversial bill on providing transgender treatment within the state of Oregon and protecting those who get the treatment from being sort of harassed and even intimidated by other states so that people can come to Oregon to get the health care that they need. And our fourth one is about the democratic process. We didn't actually, well, we had a shared resolution that we supported this time that didn't make it out of committee because everybody was so upset. It suggested that if the kicker was big enough, that we could use part of it for education and wildfires. But as I say, it didn't make it out of committee because the testimony from the citizens of Oregon was overwhelmingly negative. And there's also currently the big issue of vote by mail, which is under attack. And our speaker last night, Dustin Bueller, spoke to that issue and gave us some resources to keep track of it. We plan, as I said, the all member survey, and based on that, we will bring to all 887 members bills that you can decide which ones you want to have us advocate for. Diana and I are always open to suggestions and questions, and we and the whole committee look forward to turning these categories into specific proposals for successful bills.
Great. Sharon, thank you. Diana, you have anything? Does Diana have anything she needs to say right now, or is that from the
Not that I'm aware of, but
okay. Okay, so everyone, you've now heard our priorities. They're broad, which is good, and we'll tighten them up next year. But I need a vote. I need a vote of approval. All right. So if you're voting, Marissa, you want to remind people about the voting? Okay.
I will. Thank you. So someone else is just entering. So if you hover over your reaction button on the bottom of your screen, you should see an opportunity to vote with a check mark for yes, a X for no. If you'd rather just raise your hand, that's fine too. And or physically raise your hand, and we'll be able to look at the entire screen. If you want to change your view to gallery, you can actually see everyone and see how people are voting.
Let's do that because we want to get this. Okay. I don't see any hands down. That's great. That's great.
We'll just wait for another few moments to make sure everyone has a chance to vote. You're all doing really great. We'll be using this process for all of the voting that happens.
Great. Okay. I think it looks
nice.
Like we are unanimous. We have approved our public policy priorities, and thank you very much. Now, let's get into elections. We need to hear from our nominating committee.
Ooh.
Their burger.
Oh boy. Okay, guys.
Take down your
what did I do?
Your voices. No, go ahead.
I'm okay. Yeah. Listen. Again, thank you so much to the people who have served in these positions in the past. It's a lot of work for everyone, and I think it's really nice that we have people that are working for AAUW of Oregon and really committed to it. And the people that actually help move this forward are very important. They're the members of our nominating committee. Pat Lehman, who was the chair of this group for a number of years. She's in Northwest District, Seaside, in Wallowa County. Catherine Hojam, new this year. Hello, Catherine. Glad to have you with us. She's in Lake Oswego, the North Central. Wanda Rafferty. Thank you, Wanda. in Northeastern District. She's in Baker. Deb Watts, who's in South District, Lakeview. Thank you, Deb. And finally, we have an alternate, Pat Hines from Wallowa. Thank you very much. I'll be visiting you, Pat, next probably we're staying at a Wallowa Lake for 2 or 3 days, so actually be around in your area next month. So thank you so much, everyone, for your help in moving nominations forward. We present, the nominating committee presents the following people for offices and in district directors. And what we're going to do is we're going to do one office at a time. And then Catherine will be asking for nominations from the floor and for voting and this kind of thing. So for VP of membership, Catherine Hojim from Lake Oswego. Madam President.
Okay, so as president, I need to ask, are there any nominations from the floor? So help me, everybody, look around. Let's go to gallery view. I need to see if anybody wants to nominate anybody from the floor. If I don't see any hands, here's the deal. Robert's Rules of Order states that in an election with only one candidate, the vote may be taken by acclamation. So if we don't have any nominations for the vote, we can take the vote by acclamation, and we can just say, welcome Catherine to our membership chair position. All right?
Yes. Hey.
Yeehaw.
Congratulations. All right. Are we ready for number 2, Madam President?
Number 2.
Okay. The VP of Communications. Now, this is somebody nobody's ever heard of. That's Randa Blanding. She's involved in so many different kinds of things. If you don't know her name, Madam President, she's great. It's to you now, Madam President.
Okay, I do need to do the same thing. I need a nomination from the floor if anyone is interested in working as a co with Randa or taking Randa's position. I don't see anybody wants to do that. Okay, all right. So we can say by acclamation that Randa has been reinstated as our VP of Communications. Yeehaw!
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's keep going. This is gonna be easy.
I know. We are so, we're so conservative, aren't we, Catherine? I just love it. Okay, now we're looking at district directors. The Northeast District, Kate Mace and Regina Brocker did a full term the last term, and they agreed to do another term this year. So it's 2-year term, and here you go, Madam President.
So here's the thing with district directors. Anybody can make a nomination from them, but we can't vote on them unless you're from that district. Okay, so only people from the Northeast District can vote for Kate and Regina. All right. But first.
There's Wanda Rafferty.
Okay,
Baker. Yeah.
Hold on, Wanda, because I need to ask for nominations. To see if anybody else wants to take this on. Okay, and I don't see anybody who has a hand raised. No. Okay. So only you guys from Pendleton, Baker, where else?
Wallowa.
And I think there's one more.
Oh, no, just 3.
Okay. So only you folks can vote for Kate and Regina. So I see some hands. Okay.
Just a thumbs up.
Yeah. Well, actually, wait a minute. Maybe we don't even have to do this. We don't have to vote. We can do it by acclamation because nobody else is running against them. Never mind, you voters. Let's do it by acclamation. Kate and Regina, welcome back. 2 more years, okay?
Excellent.
All right, let's go to Central District.
Okay, Madam President. We do, oh boy, okay. Oh, look at all these folks. Okay, Central District Director. Joy Suk is leaving her current term ends in June. Peggy Shippen has agreed to be nominated to serve starting July 1st for 2 years. Thank you, Joyce, for your service. And Madam President.
Do I have any nominations from the floor for the Central District Director position? If not, let's look around, make sure we don't see anybody. Okay, all right. If not, Peggy Shippen has been declared by acclamation to be our Central District Director starting July 1st. Welcome, Peggy.
Congratulations, Peggy, and thank you, Joyce. Okay. Now, on the Northwest District Director, that includes the 4 coastal branches. We do not have someone, a candidate for running in this particular area. So, Madam President, do you have your pleading?
I will ask if there's anybody. Now, anybody can nominate anybody from this, but the only people who can vote are from Astoria, Seaside, Tillamook, or Lincoln City. So do I have any nominations from the floor for the Northwest District Director position? I see that I don't, so we will leave that. Okay.
Come on, you coasties. Come on.
You coasties. Okay. And this is the reason that the nominating committee is back.
Yeah,
because
we're back in all of our glory. Yeah,
going to be working on this. So we don't have a district director for Northwest District, but we will continue to work on that. So please get in touch with either Claire or me if you have a nomination. Okay. So Miss Claire, next one.
All right. We have Marie Mueller, who is currently in having some real health problems, has resigned her position as secretary.
Extraordinary.
Excuse me?
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary, yes. And we, Madam Secretary, would you like to open up? I mean, Madam Secretary, Madam President, excuse me. Would you open up the, do your thing, baby.
Do my thing, baby. Okay. So do I have any nominations for the position of secretary? That is a very, very important position and big shoes to fill. No.
And Madam President, this includes, can you say a little bit about what this includes? Taking minutes at meetings.
Taking minutes at meetings, noticing who's here and who's not, putting together the officer reports. What else does she do? I mean, I would say the biggest thing is the meeting minutes and putting together these reports, from all of us. I mean, that's from 21 different branches. And so she calls it tucking them in, and she writes us back and says, hey, got it, it's all tucked in. So anyway, if we don't have any nominations for that, we will continue to look. And if you want to send Marie a really nice note, that would be wonderful. Just to wish her well.
Excellent. Finally, let me see. North Central District, Ms. Maharg, her current term ends June 30th, 2027. Thank you for your work, Marty, and we're glad that you're going to be with us another year. And the South District Director, Ms. Monica Wahey, is currently serving her 2-year term and will end 2027 as well. So thank you folks for doing such a good job for us. And we're very happy you'll be with us a little bit longer. So thank you. Finally, because again, as Madam President said, we'll be on hand again for this coming year as a nominating committee. Thank you so much for your work, nominating committee, and we'll be working like heck next year as well.
Okay, so just a little extra information. When a nominating committee finds a candidate, both for Northwest and for the secretary position, Robert's Rules of Order says that a vote shall be taken as soon as possible. Yeah, we get that. The AAUW of Oregon bylaws cover voting between meetings. So the directions for voting between meetings are we can take an electronic vote. So we will do that.
Right.
We're allowed to do that by the bylaw. So just FYI, people, we can do it electronically. So I think I need to, where are we next, Marissa?
You are going to be introducing Wendy Cook for the Nickwhistle report.
Okay, Wendy, you get to do that too. And will you'll make sure you explain what Nickwhistle is for those people who
Yeah, I think I've been doing this 3 years now, 4 years. It took me at least 2 years to memorize what Nickwhistle stands for, which is National Conference for College Women Student Leaders. So that's Nickwhistle. AAUW has been a part of Nickwhistle for decades, as far as I know. Last year, for the first year ever, they delegated hosting and organizing the event to an organization called NASPA, just so that so AAUW didn't have to coordinate the actual event, but we still have a strong presence there. So AAUW of Oregon and a number of branches around the state are still interested in sending students to this event, because the students invariably report back that the event was like life altering for them. Well, I shouldn't say invariably, but by and large, almost all of them come back saying it was an experience they cherish and that is going to change the course of their life for the better. So just as it's been in the past years, it will be held at the end of May at the University of Maryland College Park. I think I touched on earlier that we are sending 7 attendees from around the state, 3 of whom are funded by AAUW of Oregon. And just an exciting thing I'm rather proud of myself, if I do say, that I suggested that they use Charity Woodrum, who I think a lot of us met at AAUW of Oregon's last annual meeting, to be a keynote speaker there. And they did contact her, and Dr. Woodrum was excited about the opportunity and has accepted to do that. So it was especially nice, since she works out of Washington, D.C. It's very convenient for her to attend the conference. I also hear that her film is going to be available for the attendees to view in the evening, which is just anyone who's seen that film knows how powerful it is. And a shout out to Georgia Applegate for expanding Charity's familiarity around the state by hosting that online event earlier in the year with her. And the other nice thing about this year's Nickwhistle is, for the past several years, they have not included a tour of Washington, D.C., which just seemed crazy to many of us, because we're sending these kids all the way to Washington and then they don't get to see the Capitol. So this year they are including, they added a day to the conference, and they're including a DC tour. And I'm excited about that personally. So that's about it, unless there are questions.
You have a question from Kay Hawkins from Grants Pass. Wants to know what it costs to fund an attendee.
Yeah, we typically budget $2,000 per student. That includes, this year the registration was $710, and then there's airfare, and we have to put them in a hotel the night prior because we can't fly them in on the same day as the event. So when you add all that up, it ends up costing. This year it did actually cost around $2,000. In years past, it's been a little cheaper because airfare, but so that's the answer. And the nice thing about having a state coordinator, and I will probably do this again next year if we run it again next year, is it does make it really easy for branches to host or to sponsor a student. Basically, all you have to do is come up with the money, and then I kind of run with it from there and help you select a student and help you, I coordinate the airfare and all that kind of stuff for you. So anything else? Please list Gresham area branch. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Cynthia. I will, in her comment, she said I should have said Gresham area branch versus the Gresham branch. So to me, you guys are all north. Sorry.
Any other questions for Wendy about Nickwhistle? All right. All right. Now this is really an honor for me. I get to introduce our incoming president, our president-elect, Mary Pat Silvera, who is just going to be wonderful for the next few years. And so, Mary Pat, you have a few words to say, right?
I do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I want to join with Catherine in thanking everybody who came today, and especially to all the serving officers at branch, district, and state levels. And in particular, I really want to say thank you to those who are retiring from office. That is Karen Beck, whom we tried 6 ways to Sunday to continue as district director. She did such a good job and we really wanted to keep her, but I get it. People have other obligations in their life. To Susan Hornick, whom I know best because we're in the same branch. She is a lifetime member, I believe. And in any case, she has, in all the years I've known her, she has served in some capacity at the branch, at the district level, at the state level. She has just contributed tremendously to this organization. So I definitely want to say thank you to Susan and to Joyce Zook, who similarly has contributed for many years at branch, district, and state levels, including having served as a state president. I have been on the board for a while in various capacities and had the opportunity to work with these people, and I will miss them. But I really, really thank you all for your service. And of course, my heartfelt thanks to the current president, Catherine Lutz, for her leadership and her dedication, her shared vision, and particularly in my case, her mentoring. I hope that I've learned well from her, but I also come with the knowledge that if I have any questions, if I need any help, she is such a generous person. I know that she will find the time to help me. So thank you, Catherine.
Please, thank you, Mary Pat.
Catherine made a very eloquent speech this morning and yesterday evening. She actually managed to stay fairly dry-eyed today.
No, that's so hard.
And in that speech, she emphasized the importance of our mission. And of course, she was spot on. We are all well-educated, determined, and strong women who have had the luxury of choices in our lives. But that's only because of the women who came before us. The women who fought for the 19th Amendment, the women who fought for access to credit, to banking, to home ownership, to equal pay, the women who fought for professional lives and continue to fight, free of sexual harassment and artificially imposed ceilings on their chances for advancement. So, too, it's our job to fight for the women who come after us. Yesterday, our excellent speaker, Dustin Buehler, called on all of us to be a part of the 3 C's: courts, crowds, and courage. One of the ways I believe that we can all respond to that is through our collective work in AAUW. I look to all of you to participate, and I hope that many of you will step up to the leadership roles at branch, district, and state levels to ensure that we are successful. We have a big agenda ahead of us, as Catherine pointed out. Let's get to work. Claudia, our program chair, invited you yesterday to the 2027 annual meeting, which is an in-person meeting. She'll provide you with more information, but I just first wanted to thank those who have been working very hard on putting this together so far. Eventually we'll get all of you, but so far it's been Claudia and Marissa, our events coordinator, and Wendy, our finance vice president. So thank you all. It's been easy so far, looking ahead to 2027. And I'm now happy to invite you to the 2027 annual meeting and ask Claudia to speak more about it. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Mary Pat. Okay, Claudia, are you going to mention that now, or you want to do that later?
I can.
Yeah, go ahead and do it now, and then I'll close up shop.
Yeah. Hope you will all mark on your calendars or looping or whatever for April 30th to May 2nd, 2027. We're in 2027, which is kind of scary, but at the Salem Convention Center in downtown Salem. We tried to keep it centrally located, not spend too much, and we're going to start planning the next conference. So you got to start saving your date so you don't realize, oh, I already did something for that time. Nope, come see us, and it'll be fun because it'll be in person. We don't have to depend on Zoom working, and we can all see each other and renew old acquaintances, make new acquaintances, and I hope to see you there. We hope to see you there.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. So, I got a question. Does anybody have any announcements? We were going to have them put in the chat. I haven't seen any yet. So if we don't have any announcements, let's look. Check around. Does anybody have any announcements? I don't see any. Okay. And if not, with no further business, I am going to bring a close to the 101st State Meeting Business Session of AAUW Oregon at 2:58 p.m. Sine Day. There you go. Now, Claudia. Okay. All right, Claudia, it's all yours.
Well, first question, I can't see. So is Rachel Cushman here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Rachel.
Oh, good. That makes me very happy. Welcome, Rachel, and thank you for being here. Rachel is our 2025 AAUW Oregon Fellow. She studies at the University of Oregon in Eugene, not too far from us. She is seeking a Doctor of Philosophy. Her primary area of expertise is ethnic and cultural studies. Her specialization is Indigenous race and ethnic studies. Her project name is Chinook Justice, a Survivance Journey. Rachel explores the Chinook Indian Nation's story of survivance and its multi-generational fight for justice. Her work situates the Chinook experience within a broader historical context, connecting it to the struggles of other Indigenous nations across the U.S. She examines government to tribal relations, recognition processes, and Indigenous sovereignty to uncover a complex and ongoing history. And after Rachel talks, you'll have time to ask any questions you want. But for right now, we are excited to listen to Rachel Cushman. Thank you, Rachel.
Well, hi, I'm Rachel Cushman, Nika Yachel, Nika Tilikum, and Saika Chinook Indian Nation, in Saika Klatsip, Kathlamet, Wakayakam, Willapa, Pilor Chinook. My name is Rachel Cushman. I'm a citizen and leader of the Chinook Indian Nation. We are the Clatsop and Kathlamet of present-day Oregon, the Willapa, Wakayakam, and Lower Chinook of what is now Washington State. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Oregon, part of the inaugural cohort of Indigenous race and ethnic studies scholars. This week, I will submit my approximately 200-page dissertation titled Chinook Justice, a Survivance Journey, and I will defend it on May 27th. I come to this work as a published scholar, as an Indigenous and environmental activist, an elected and hereditary leader of my nation, a student, an educator, and most importantly, a mother. Before I get too much further into my story and work, I'd like to thank the American Association of University Women for selecting me as one of this year's AAW American Dissertation Fellowship recipients. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this event for reaching out to me and asking me to speak this afternoon. It is an honor to have been asked to share my story and work with you. Hayumasi, many thanks. When we're young, we're asked what we want to be when we grow up. I wanted to do many things I never imagined, even after earning my Bachelor of Science degree in Ethnic Studies in 2010, that I'd go on to earn a doctorate. This is a significant achievement in my family. For generations, my relatives have worked in canneries, factories, oyster farms, or have been fishermen, loggers, road builders, and contractors. At age 6, I was diagnosed as neurodivergent, and because of my different ways of engaging in the world, many of my peers and teachers disliked me. I was told that I was loud, I was too hyper, disruptive, and distracting. Some educators even told me I was not a good student, with one going so far as to say my public speaking skills were lacking and I should choose a career that didn't involve public speaking. I worked hard to mask my true self and act like my peers. I became very skilled at establishing strict routines and incorporating various therapies and coping strategies into my daily life. I remember the very first time someone told me I was smart and could go to college. The Native American recruiter for the University of Oregon had been invited to speak at one of the Indian Education Monthly Family Nights that I regularly attended. And while we were eating, the recruiter sat down with me and my mom. And after a while, she told my mom, "This young lady is very smart. She will be very successful in college." Until then, I never thought college could be a path for me. I'm still very close to this person, so close, in fact, that nearly 16 years after this conversation, I started a family with her son. Recently, I was talking to her about my educational journey. I told her that her words that she spoke to me when I was 12 years old always stuck with me. She then revealed something profound. She said that when she was young, she was told that she was not smart and would not amount to much. Like me, she persisted and challenged what was said about her. That's why I always take time to uplift the young women I meet. I worked hard to get where I am today. I'm here because I refuse to let negative comments about myself or my tribal community shape our futures. Our stories are filled with what Gerald Visner has skillfully called survivance. My dissertation, Chinook Justice, A Survivance Journey, chronicles my tribal nation's fight for justice across multiple generations. It begins by focusing on events from 2001 and 2002, and weaves backward and forward in a time spiral to show how our story connects with those of other tribes in the broader United States. By examining Chinook's story, we learn a great deal about U.S. government to tribal, intertribal, and intratribal relations. It reveals many aspects of federal acknowledgement policies and processes. It also exposes the turbulent history of Indigenous erasure and statism. Additionally, it offers insights into Indigenous resistance, co-resistance, and concepts of sovereignty. The Chinook Indian Nation has existed at the mouth of Igayeth-Imaf, also known as the Columbia River, since our emergence from the land. Through a series of interconnected strategies of native erasure, the United States has attacked our sovereignty and our right to exist in our homelands. As a Chinookan researcher, I've deeply engaged with Chinookan history, culture, governance, and politics, gaining insights into my community that outside scholars cannot access. I act as a bridge between the academic world and the Chinook Indian Nation, shedding light on untold stories and challenging existing literature. The Academy has been a place of ambivalence that has both harmed the Chinook community through practices of erasure, elimination, and discourses of primitivism, and supported the Chinook Indian Nation through collaboration, documenting historical events, language preservation, among other efforts. My methodological and theoretical approaches honor both of these truths. Having a Chinook citizen within the Academy creates pathways for the Chinook Indian Nation to achieve autonomy over our stories. The Chinook Indian Nation has not disappeared, and this dissertation actively challenges colonial misconceptions about our nation. While my research framework is firmly rooted in place and Chinookan protocols, this approach is important, has important implications for how Indigenous peoples engage in research and interact with the Academy. I strive to be a Chinookan researcher who frames the work through a culturally specific, Indigenous feminist, anti-colonial lens. I have no intention of replicating the systems and structures that cause harm, oppress, or reproduce colonial futurities. As a citizen of an Indigenous nation whose community consistently fights erasure from the physical, social, economic, and political landscape, And as a researcher driven by Chinookan ways of knowing and engaging with the world, my work requires a framework for conducting research and writing that is legible to both the academy and my community. It is for this reason that I introduced Chinukmunk Yaim, a Chinookan framework for research and writing. Throughout this methodological practice presented in the introduction, each chapter examines key moments in Chinook's ongoing struggle and its imaginings of justice. Chapter 1 highlights Chinook's federal recognition in 2001 and the loss of that recognition 18 months later. This story illustrates how federal Indian policy can be unpredictable, with a single decision profoundly affecting tribal nations. The chapter explains how the United States, as a settler nation, is inherently dedicated to dispossessing Indigenous peoples of our lands and lifeways, a reality that Indigenous communities, both locally and globally, continuously resist through various forms of opposition. It also discusses how Indigenous peoples in the U.S. have gained recognition and how current acknowledgement pathways often create more barriers than opportunities. By examining the history of federal administrative acknowledgement process and my nation's experiences within it, this chapter shows that the Chinook community is not lacking. Instead, the system itself is flawed. In chapter 2, we travel much further back in time to explore the events that led to Chinook's current non-federal status. By examining key moments in history from Chinook's first contact with Euro-American colonizers to the loss of federal services in the 1960s, we see that despite the U.S. government's ongoing efforts to erase Chinook from history, from the political, physical, social, and economic landscape, our struggles have always been driven by desire to remain in our homelands with the bones of our ancestors and preserve our Chinookan ways of knowing and being. Because much of this story predates the lives of our nation's citizens, I spent a lot of time reflecting on our Ya'im, our oral stories, passed down in our families and community. While dominant discourse often portrays us as broken, our stories reveal our strength. Unlike the previous chapter, which historicizes Chinook's legacy of resistance survival, chapter 3 firmly roots Chinook's ongoing fight for justice in the present. I start with a defining moment in 2024 when the federal courts, the Department of the Interior, and Congress reaffirmed our heirship to our people and our lands. Then I trace that victory back to 1925 when Chinook's first elected leaders asked Congress for permission to file our land claim. After examining the origins and outcomes of our Docket 234 land claim, we jumped to 2017 to highlight Chinook's legal and administrative struggles, showing how the Chinook Indian Nation navigates the challenges of Indigenous land claims, co-stewardship of our territories, and land back efforts without federal acknowledgement. Because the events of Chapter 3 are full of ups and downs, I start Chapter 4 with an econym, an ancient story passed down through the generations. I do this to ground the discussion of lateral love and violence and ancient Chinookan cultural values through the story of a Kuno, a woman leader who shows us how to resolve our inter and intra-cultural disputes. We learn that we have always had the roadmap for creating futures beyond colonial visions. This chapter, which is more theoretical, combines Chinookan ways of being with ideas of Indigenous scholars. As a result, I explore lateral love and violence through a Chinookan perspective, then examine how within inter and intra-tribal sites of exchange and survivance spaces, lateral love and violence are supported or challenged. It's my hope to continue this work and eventually publish Chinook Justice as a book. Hayumasi, many thanks.
Thank you. I like the way that you intersperse Chinookan words. So in your dissertation and your book coming, do you write them out so we can see them?
The words?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you'll write the words out. Okay.
Yes, the traditional language is incorporated throughout.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we'll open it up to questions from everybody. You can do your virtual hand and we'll call on you. And I'll raise you up. Catherine Lutz.
Okay. Rachel, thank you so much. That was so very interesting, and I loved hearing the Chinookan. a question, why did you lose federal support in the 60s? Why did the Chinook tribe lose that?
That is a whole presentation in itself, but ultimately, um, it goes back to 1851 when we signed our treaties with the US government. The goal of the treaty negotiation at that time was to remove us from the mouth of the Columbia River to east of the Cascades, and we refused. And we were able to negotiate a treaty where we could stay in our lands, but Congress was not happy about that and tabled our treaty indefinitely, which put us in a legal gray area because years later, the Interior took our land without a treaty. So it was an illegal taking, seizure of our lands. And there was a lot of subsequent there's lawsuits, legislation passed, Supreme Court decisions, which all reaffirmed our sovereignty over our place and our people. But because there wasn't a formal treaty and decision by Congress in the 1960s, the Department of the Interior cut services to all landless tribes, and we were landless because our treaty was never ratified. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. It's very convoluted.
Okay,
Thank you for giving me some
Thank
clue.
you. Okay, next question, Mary Pat.
Thank you. Thank you. What a lovely talk. And I hope your dissertation is published because I want to read it for sure. I know so little. I mean, it's shameful how little any of us learned about the Native American cultures across the country. And so I hope we have access. I was just curious, you're very busy, obviously. You've been doing your PhD, you've written your dissertation, you have a position in your tribe, you're a liaison between your tribe and the public. What's next? Once you have that PhD, what are your plans, if you can share them?
Well, there's always a lot of pathways. I'm just midway through life, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different things. I actually accepted a position with the Long Tom Watershed Council in the Eugene area as the Traditional Ecological Inquiry Program Manager. So I will be managing an autonomous program that works on Indigenous land stewardship, education, and yeah, so I'll be doing that, keeping in mind that I plan on applying for postdocs because I would like to continue to work in the academy. I enjoy researching and writing. It brings me so much fulfillment, but in this current administration, it's really been hard to find jobs. And also specifically in my field of study, it's been challenged and people have lost jobs all over the place. They've been reduced. And so just keeping the doors open and doing some really important work in the interim.
Okay, thank you. Marissa, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. Rachel, I really appreciate the inclusion of the Chinook language in your presentation and in your dissertation. Can you speak a little bit as to how the language is being preserved within your tribe? I know it's been really a hard and happy task here where I live in the Roseburg area with the Cow Creek tribe. So I'd love to hear what the Chinook tribe is doing to preserve that language with the young people.
Yeah, that's a really great question. A lot of our neighboring communities who are more resource rich, as we like to say, have really supported the language Chinook as the Chinook proper, the traditional language spoken at the mouth. There's 3 different dialects. There's very few speakers of it. So like Igais Imath is a lower Chinookan word. Chinook Wawa, which is another language that emerged from the Chinook proper. About 50% of Chinook Wawa is from the Chinook proper. Is a trade language that predates colonization, but really took hold during early colonization as many settlers in the area spoke it. The language was originally spoken from Alaska, Southeast Alaska, all the way down to California. So a lot of my neighboring tribal communities speak it. And as they were working to revive language in their community, they brought in speakers from my community to develop language programs. So Grand Ron, for example, brought in Chinookan people to revitalize Chinook Wawa there. And so they have shared resources, and we've shared resources. It's been all about reciprocity and respect. And so it's been a reciprocal relationship with neighboring communities. And we have language programs. Lane Community College here in Eugene has a Chinook Wawa language program for college age folks. In the Salem area, there are early learning academies for Chinook. So like my kids speak Chinook Wawa fluently. I've been speaking to them since birth. We have our whole communities where we speak, and storytelling where we speak together.
Neat. Okay, thank you. Wendy?
Hi, yeah, that was very interesting. And of course, my ears couldn't help but perk up as I realized, which I should have, that you live here in Eugene, as do I, and several of the other people here attending the conference. Obviously, you must have been familiar with AAUW if you received a grant from them, so congratulations on that. I'm wondering if I can invite you to join us at one of our local branch meetings, and/or while you're an AAUW, I'm sorry, while you're a UO student, joining AAUW costs you a total of $0. It's free. So I would like to invite you to join us and join our branch. And I can think of all sorts of networking opportunities. For example, we've been looking for ways to get in closer touch with LCC than we've been able to. And we would love to have you come to our branch and speak to us for those of us who aren't here today. So if you're agreeable to that, I'll get your contact information from Claudia.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to. Definitely always looking for ways to connect with more people in the area.
And we can learn Chinook Wawa maybe, or at least a word or two.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, well, Rachel, we really appreciate you being here. And I know a bunch of us want to learn Chinook Wawa, so now you're going to have a class or something if we can do it on Zoom, maybe. But I have heard of it at least, but I haven't learned it. So thank you for being here and sharing. And we hope to see your book and let us know when it's published. That would be very interesting.
And here is a lesson for all of you. Hayumasi. Hayumasi. Gonna say it with me. Hayumasi.
Hayumasi.
It means thank you.
That's good. It's a good one to know.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Hayumasi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now we have AAUW Funds Award Celebration. Claudia, are you going to do this with Sheila, or should I just introduce Sheila?
I think introduce Sheila.
Introduce Sheila, also from the Eugene, who is our AAUW Funds Chair. So she has lots of things to celebrate. So let's share with us.
We do. Thank you, Catherine. And Wendy, thank you for, I don't want to say stealing my thunder exactly, but as the membership VP for Eugene Lane, thank you very much for extending the invitation to Rachel. I was going to say the same thing if she stayed with us. So it's thank you again for taking the lead on that. And thank you to all of you. Welcome to the AAUW Funds Awards celebration. This slide here lists all of the awards that we're going to be either talking about today or presenting today. Don't worry, it's not going to take all that long. A lot of it is just announcing where to find lists of donors, tributes, memorials, endowments, that sort of thing. And because this is a virtual award celebration, the certificates of recognition for things like the top 10 branches and the special awards, because they're being announced here in person for the first time, will be sent to those branches after this program concludes. Certificates of recognition for branch named honorees and major donor honorees have already been sent to those particular branches to be awarded in person on their own branch meeting schedule. So Marissa, if we could move to the top 10 branches, I apologize for this being so tiny, but at least we're on Zoom, so hopefully you can see it. The top 10 branches are determined based on the dollar donations from all of the members in a branch for all of 2025. They're awarded both based on total dollar amounts, which is the left-hand listing, starting with Oregon Online and going through Portland 1 through 10, left-hand, the other side. And the top 10 branches per member are the dollar amounts divided by the number of members in a branch. So we normalize it a little bit for how many people in a branch are donating. And you'll see again that Oregon Online leads the list there, with the other branches listed in descending order of their donations. Just something interesting, the total AAUW of Oregon members' donations to AAUW funds, which is what are reflected here, were up by almost 15% over 2024. So I think that's something we need to celebrate. There were two very large donations, individual donations, that if I counted those would have made 2025 donations 80% higher than 2024's. So because those were donations assigned to branches, they are included in the top 10 branches here. But for reporting purposes, I'm sticking with the almost 15% over 2024.
Dylan, you have a question from Linda O'Hara.
Yes, Linda.
No, we don't have a Yamhill branch. It's Yamhill
County. I'm sorry.
Yamhill County. There's a Yamhill City, but that's not us.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for getting that right.
Yeah. And I think I did the same thing for Wallowa. They are also Wallowa County. So
yes.
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Yeah. I think I got it right on your certificates. So.
Okay, I guess we'll find out. Thank you for your effort. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, there are two special awards that AAUW funds in Oregon have been awarding for a while. The first is to those Oregon branches that designated 100% of their donations to the Greatest Needs Fund. For those of you who are familiar with this, that's the fund that AAUW asks that people donate to, because that's, for lack of a better word, kind of their slush fund. They can put that money wherever it's needed most. It's not specifically dedicated to something like higher education or public policy. Those 8 branches are listed here. See, I got the county for you, Linda. Yamhill County and Wallowa County. So these 8 branches all designated 100% of their donations to the Greatest Needs Fund. So congratulations to each of you branches, and AAUW thanks you very much for supporting the Greatest Needs Fund. Next one, the second special award is for the branch that has the largest percentage of their members donating to AAUW funds in 2025. And that award goes to Oregon Online, with 60% of their members to donating across all AAUW funds. So congratulations to Oregon Online. Just a few words about the Oregon 5-star branches. For those of you that aren't familiar with the 5-star program, it recognizes the work that branches do that support AAUW's 5 core programs of advancement, public policy and research, government and sustainability, communications and external relations, and program. And a branch is awarded a star for any of those AAUW program areas based on how they respond to their annual branch survey to AAUW. So it's not a separate application process to be awarded 5 stars. So that's a good reason, I think, for branch presidents to complete those branch surveys. And the current one is due by June 30th. So just a little nag there for AAUW, as well as that AAUW is now referring to it as the AAUW branch and affiliate annual report to more properly reflect the fact that, according to current IRS rules, this is a required report for each affiliate. of AAUW as a nonprofit organization. And if branch presidents should have received an email already from AAUW with a link to that report form. If you didn't, let me know and I can point you in the right direction. And that is my plug for 5-star. Donor clubs. AAUW of Oregon sorts its donors, if you will, into these dollar ranges. For historical reasons, I did not pick Claudia Gray's brain about that particular historical designation. But these are our donor clubs. I'm not going to list all of the members of each donor club here. They are in your awards program booklet. Randa, I believe, has dropped. Yes, she has dropped a link in the chat for where to find the awards program. Again, because this is a virtual awards program, we didn't make that available ahead of time because things like the top 10 branches and the special awards are being announced here live. But the list members for each donor club are in that program if you download the PDF. All right, moving on to tributes and memorials. Tribute is a donation to AAUW funds that is made in honor of a living person. And a memorial is a donation to AAUW funds that's made in memoriam for someone who is deceased. They don't have to be an AAUW member. They can be anyone that you want to honor for having supported AAUW's mission and goals. When your branch funds chair completes your contribution report form, if there is a tribute or memorial, they will record that information on that CRF. And when they send a copy to me so that I can keep track of your donations to AAUW, as well as reporting them to AAUW National, I will send either an in honor of card for a tribute or an in memoriam card for a memorial that's made. The tributes and memorials that were donated or designated in 2025 are listed in the awards program booklet. I won't read each of them here in the interest of time. So I also wanted to say a few words about Oregon related endowments. As our speaker, Rachel Cushman, mentioned, she did receive an AAUW fellowship. Fellowships and grants are not funded by your donations to AAU. I'll start over again about Oregon related endowments. I bring that up today because our speaker a little bit ago is an AAUW fellow. And not everyone understands how fellowships and grants from AAUW are funded. They are not funded through donations to AAUW funds. They are separate accounts that are set up by a member, by a branch, for the purpose of providing monies to fund AAUW fellowships or grants. And there are a number of Oregon-related endowments that I was surprised to learn about. They are also listed in the program booklet. There are, I forgot the count. Anyway, 15 or 20 of them or something. All of those funds are fully endowed, which means that they're closed to any further contributions, which is a good thing. And that list includes the name of the endowment, who established it, when it was established, what kind of AAUW fellowship or grant it funds. You'll remember that Rachel mentioned that her award was funded her doctoral dissertation, and so they get that specific in terms of what the money can be awarded for. And in the last column in that table, you will find a link to the 2025-2026 recipient for that particular endowment. And the link goes to AAUW's Fellowships and Grants database. So you can see who those people are, where they're studying, what they're doing, and how that money is going to be used. A few statistics that I forgot to mention as I was zipping through was there were 115 total donors In 2025, 15 first-year donors and 13 major donors of $1,000 or more. If you go to the next page, is the tributes and memorials section, where I do list the folks who made donations either as a tribute or a memorial. If you know you made a tribute or a memorial and it's not listed there, it's because I wasn't notified. So please let me know if I missed someone. I can always update this. Then the next section is my little spiel about Oregon-related AAUW endowments. The table I was talking about is on the next page. Again, it's kind of small to read here, but this is the list of AAUW endowment funds that were established either by an Oregon branch or an Oregon member. You can see that they're all listed there. Thank you, Marissa. And now I'm going to turn it over to Claudia Gray to say a few words about the Legacy Circle.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you, Sheila. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. This page that Sheila is showing is the number of Legacy Circle members in Oregon. They're not all Oregon members. You'll see at the bottom of it, if you can scroll to the bottom, Randa, please. We have several who are no longer AAUW members, but were originally in Oregon. And we have 7 who moved out of state, but they've kept in touch with us. Thank you for putting this page in your program. The Legacy Circle, as I've said to many times, is made up of members and non-members who have included national AAUW in their will or their estate plan. And we had a new member this year, as of the last meeting, who was Marlene Kraut, who's from Pendleton. And then we had Jill Hefner from Pendleton. I kid about peer pressure with the Legacy Circle, and welcome them both. Thank you, Sheila, for showing this.
Thank you also to Claudia Gray for your support this past year as I've transitioned into this role. You have been very helpful and you made it very easy to step right in. So thank you again, Claudia. I appreciate it. And finally, we're on to the awards that probably a lot of you are the most familiar with, and that is the Named Honoree Program. For branches, AAUW policy states that each branch shall be entitled to 1 named honoree for every $500 donated, minus any $1,000 donations. And so at the end of 2025, the beginning of 2026, AAUW sends me what they have listed for everybody's donations. I vet those with each branch. That's how we come up with the number of named honorees for each branch. That's the maximum number they can name. Branches very often don't choose to honor all of the named honorees that they're entitled to name. And again, usually if we were in person, certificates of recognition would be handed out personally to branch named honorees who were in attendance at the annual meeting at this point. And we would show the whole list of named honorees. But again, because this is a virtual meeting, some branches have awarded their named honorees. Some branches still have not. We didn't want to spoil the surprise for any of them. So after this meeting concludes, actually it's not, sometime in May, because we want to give all of the branches plenty of time to do their honoring in person. The list will be published and posted to the AAUW of Oregon website. And we'll also have a link to that in the May edition of the Sound Bites newsletter. So, but I just want to say thank you and congratulations to each of the branch named honorees for all of your support to AAUW funds. I've mentioned major donors a couple of times already. Those are donors that have donated $1,000 or more. They are entitled to select 1 named honoree for each $1,000 donated. 13 major donors named a total of 8 honorees for 2025. Those certificates of recognition have been emailed to each major donor or their funds chair, again, for in-person presentation. And again, I want to say thank you very much to the major donors for their contributions to AAUW and for recognizing their fellow AAUW of Oregon members with their certificates of recognition. And now the big one, the pièce de résistance, if you will. AAUW of Oregon has been selecting named gift honorees since 1946. The number of named honorees is based on the total dollar amount of donations to AAUW funds by all AAUW of Oregon members. This year's total was a little over $76,000. It was more than that. My mind just went blank and I didn't write it down. But anyway, AAUW of Oregon selects one state named gift honoree for every $10,000 in donations to AAUW funds. Named gift honorees are nominated by the board of directors and by branch presidents as members who have elevated AAUW state activities in either a special project or on an ongoing basis. And a list of past state named honorees is available on the website. There's a link provided in the program that you can see there. Again, because this is an honor that is awarded at the time of the state meeting, I've listed the 2024 Oregon named honorees here because they were announced in person at last year's annual meeting. And they are Claire Berger from Hillsborough Forest Grove, Randa Blanding of Lake Oswego and Oregon Online, Nancy Brown of Albany and Oregon Online, and Peggy Shippen of Salem. The twist that not every named honoree, it turns out, was aware of is that they are now the selection committee for this year's state named gift honorees. And so I am going to turn it over at this point to that selection committee. I believe Randa is going to be first up to announce 2025 state named gift honorees.
Thank you, Sheila. Our first honoree is a person. If not for her, we probably wouldn't be here this afternoon. She was willing to take on what nobody else would, and she did so with such enthusiasm, passion, and support for women and girls. Of course, I am describing the Catwoman, Catherine Lewis, our AAUW of Oregon president. Not only did she write the inspirational articles for the Oregon News, but she provided the welcome for last night and also today for opening this year's conference. She also started Soundbites, a new Use as Appropriate newsletter. She hosted meetings with branch presidents to improve communication among branch officers around the state. Her goal was to visit every one of the 21 branches. She came close to reaching it. And finally, her 3E theme fits her so well: educating, enlightening, and empowering. Catherine, you have our sincere gratitude for the 2 years you've spent at the helm of this wonderful organization.
Thank you, Randa. Thank you all. That's lovely. It's lovely. Very, very sweet. It's been a pleasure.
All right. I think I'm next, right, Randa? Huh. I think I am.
You did.
Already? All right. This honoree has been tireless in her advocacy efforts for Oregon AAUW branches on both a local and state basis, and has been involved in public policy at the state level for many years. She presented a popular public policy program at last year's conference for those attending in person and via Zoom. Of course, we're talking about Sharon Noon. As the co-chair for Oregon's Public Policy Committee, Sharon Noon has organized a large committee of branches from across Oregon to advocate for women and girls' interests on the state level, working with branch representatives to choose relevant state bills and monitoring closely the bills as they move through the 2026 Oregon legislature. Now, this was a particularly harrowing legislative session in that it was relatively short and necessitated continuous communication with branches with short notice. The fact that all of our approved bills made it through in this session, including other areas, was in large part due to Sharon's persistence and hard work. Congratulations, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Especially hearing it from Claire, who just about died doing the same job the year previous. Thank you so much.
So it's from one dead person to the other.
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. Congratulations. You deserve it, my friend.
Thank you.
Next, Peggy has an honoree.
Okay,
Peggy Shippen. There you go.
I'm here. A year ago, when it seemed that our very popular state conferences might not happen, this amazing woman stepped up and literally saved the day. Or should I say, save these 2 days. With grace and ease, our new state program vice president began planning for this weekend, for which we are most grateful. Claudia has also hosted Zoom meetings with branch program chairs for sharing their successes and challenges. Yes, Claudia Carmichael. What you might not know, however, is that while Claudia was working as state program vice president, she was also actively working with the State Public Policy Committee. She'd made visits to promote and encourage participation in local public policy issues in southern and central districts, and also to the 4 Northwest District branches. Claudia coordinated all responses from branches for the legislative agenda and letters to representatives and senators for the 2026 session. She is currently helping to update the AAUW Oregon Public Policy Toolkit for branch public policy leaders. For all you have done at the branch and state level to bring us and keep us together, for stepping up to lead, and for sharing your time, talent, and skills to support us in fulfilling our AAUW mission. We thank you, Claudia Carmichael.
Thank you. It just seems like we should all get an award because I'm not the only one, and we have a really good team and a really good group, and it's just, there's just so much help around. It's not like you're all alone, and I just really appreciate it. And we're going to start working on the next conference tomorrow or maybe day after. Thank you.
Okay, this is Nancy, and it's my turn. Our final honoree is a woman who has stepped up for AAUW for decades, fully embodying our mission of education and equity. More than anyone in Oregon, she has consistently remained involved at the branch, state, and national levels, giving us the benefit of her passion, perspective, and expertise. This woman is a leader, serving as state president in 1979 to 81 and co-chair of the national convention held in Portland in 1991. She is a trainer and mentor. For many years, she traveled the country providing leadership training and mentorship to AAUW members, branches, and state and regional organizations. Her training legacy lives on in her YouTube video about Robert's Rules of Order, which now has over 24,000 views from around the world. One person said about her, she embodies the leadership business of AAUW. She is embraced as a local, state, and national leader because she is one of the few people who can detect a problem, define it, and organize a solution that engages others in a way that is rewarding and fun. She has the skills to track statistics and parse language, and the ability to bring a laugh or a tear at banquet events. This honoree spent many, many years as AAUW of Oregon Funds Chair, as a tireless advocate for financially supporting AAUW. She regularly sent updates about AAUW funds activities and how those funds are used to support AAUW's mission and goals. She diligently planned and presented the funds awards at each year's annual meeting and transferred a full toolkit of procedures, templates, and supplies to our new funds chair, Sheila Rammerman, who found it to be a truly valuable resource. As Sheila said, she's patiently mentored me this year as I worked through the responsibilities for the first time. She has been a positive force for AUW funds, and may I say the Legacy Circle, for many years. The AAUW mission is in her family's DNA. The values she imparted to her two sons unquestionably include equity for women. We are all truly lucky to be considered part of her family. Thank you, Claudia Gray, for the legacy you have provided to us and to AAUW.
Bye. I have to say, coming from one of my little sisters, this is really touching. Thank you so much. I'm not sure that I deserve all of that, Nancy, but I love you anyway.
I didn't make anything up, honey.
You're sure?
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Those are our 4 2025 honorees.
Thank you all for this. This is lovely. Just lovely.
Good company. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think we're almost at the end. I have a couple things to say. I promise it'll be brief. Let's see what she's got on the screen. Oh, okay. So Edith Green, Oregon's 10-term representative, is being inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in September 2026. Yay! That's very exciting.
Catherine.
Yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
I have something to read.
Good.
About Edith Green.
Okay.
Edith Louise Sterrett Green transformed American education and expanded opportunities for women, leaving a legislative legacy that continues to shape classrooms and careers today. A 10-term member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Oregon, she became an influential architect of federal education policy. Her work helped pass landmark legislation, earning her the nicknames of Mrs. Education and Mother of Title IX. Her most enduring achievement came with Title IX, the 1972 law prohibiting sex discrimination in federally funded education programs. Green died 40 years ago on April 21st, 1987, almost 40 years ago, leaving behind a legacy defined by access, equity, and the belief that education should open doors to all. On September 25th, 2026, Edith Green will be inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York. The biennial induction ceremony stands as a national beacon of inspiration, illuminating stories that too often go untold and ensuring they take the rightful place in our shared history. Since 1973, the National Women's Hall of Fame has honored distinguished American women whose achievements have shaped our world. The induction ceremony continues a powerful tradition celebrating extraordinary women and inspiring future generations. Past inaugural classes have included Harriet Tubman, Amelia Earhart, and Helen Keller. And you can find this online. Just look up the National Women's Hall of Fame, and you can see all 12, I believe it is, 11 or 12 inductees into this year. And there's just so many interesting women, and you can learn about all that they've done. And thank you to Edith Green for helping Oregon and our country.
Okay. Thank you, Claudia. That was very interesting. I didn't know very much about it. All right. So, ladies, over the past few days, hearing from Dustin Buehler, Rachel Cushman, and from our public policy chairs, that they've pushed us to reflect not on just what we do, but why we do it. It's in a time that often feels uncertain and divided. Imagine that. Their messages were a reminder that this work matters because it connects people and strengthens communities and creates stability where it's needed most. They challenged us to lead with purpose, to stay resilient, and to keep showing up even when the path forward isn't easy. We elected new board members, and that marked an important step in carrying that mission forward, bringing in fresh voices to help us stay responsive and relevant. More than anything, these 2 days reinforce that our work isn't just routine, it's essential. Trying times like these, it becomes even more important to stay engaged, support one another, and remain committed to make a meaningful difference. We leave not just inspired, but re-energized and ready to continue the work with clarity and purpose and love. So I want to thank you all for being here. You know, Zoom is harder. I can't wait to see you all in 2027 in Salem, but thank you for being here on Zoom and for sitting here this long. So we appreciate all of you. I guess that's the end of this, huh, Claudia? Nice job.
See you next year.
Okay.
Claudia.
Oh, wait, we forgot the drawing.
Yeah, you're forgetting your drawing.
I was like, didn't we forget something? And luckily, my trusty assistant, Tim Carmichael, is the one who reminded me, and he's going to pull the names. So that's why he's sitting here waiting. It's like, when am I going to pull the names? Okay, so we were trying to do this in hopes that we could get some more people here, and I think we did a good job with that. And if you're here, if I draw a name and you're not here, you're not going to win. Sorry. But if I draw a name and you're sitting right there, raise your hand. The first one we're going to do is we're going to draw for is the $50 Trader Joe's gift card. And then Wendy Cook has the $100 McMinimans card safely in her safe, and she went and got it, I think. So we'll trusty assistant Tim is not going to look, and he's going to pull out. And Maisie's not going to eat them. She wants to eat the little pieces of paper. Nope. So no eating. So put out a name for the $50 Trader Joe's gift card. Nancy Thomas. Is Nancy Thomas here? Raise your hand. So you'll come up to the top. Nope. Okay. Next name. Don't look. I know this person is here. Peggy Shippen. Peggy, where are you? I hope she didn't go off yet.
I didn't.
Oh, good.
I'm here. I just,
good. I
never win anything. I never win anything.
It's like that'll be easy. I just go a half a mile and deliver it. I don't even have to mail it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have our $100 McMinimans. And by the way, McMinimans donated this, and they were very, very helpful. So you could go to McMinimans even if you don't have a $100 gift card. So here we go. Judith Ano, A-N-O. Is Judith here? Raise your hand so we see you. There she is. We might not see her, but we can see that she's here. So congratulations, Judith. And we will work on sending it to you. I think Wendy will probably send it to you. And have fun at McMinimans. Randa reminded me that if you go to all the McMinimans, you get like a little passport. You put all the places down and you get a special party at the end of the year. So that's something to work toward for all of us. We can all do that. So I see a screen, and it's to remind us about the next conference, unless you want to do this, Catherine.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Madam President. Okay. April 30th to May 2nd, 2027, in person, Salem at the Salem Convention Center. Planning has already begun, and hope to see you then.
Looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you.